Chapter 9 can be divided into two sections. Revelation 9 verses 1 to 12. Sounding of the fifth angel, which deals with images as outlined in chapter 8. Vibrations from impulses and memories arising from the lower portions of the body because of our use of free will. Desires and their forms as crystallized separate influences, ideas and patterns of response. Section 2. Revelation 9 verses 13 to 21. Sounding of the sixth angel, which deals with operation of the angels, emotions and the mind, operations of earthly elements in the body, movement of influences in the body. In Revelation 9 verse 1, soul, with the mind, came from the stars, or another dimension, and is now having an earthly, or three-dimensional, experience. In Revelation 8, the four angels sounded after the opening of the seventh seal, pituitary. Once our ideas, our wants and desires, are accepted by the mind, then the pituitary puts it into action into the body. A new idea must reach the gonads before there can be the patterning of the idea into a useful form. The life force gives the pattern form and expresses it. In Revelation 9 we see how a new idea is formed and how self identifies with these self-created ideas. Man realizes that he can create his own ideas. Heaven as a state of consciousness is unknown to the physical conscious mind. The new idea from his use of free will seems to come from heaven. The urge to create ideas is a biological process, happens in the flesh body, but originally is from the mental and spiritual, unconscious. The formation of ideas in the body is an unconscious process with the use of free will. Revelation 9 deals with the recognition of the use of will as a universal factor, and the emphasis is on the physical body's reactions, but not the ego's. Birth of the ego. Ego is a universal influence because it was the basis of Satan's rebellion in heaven, see Revelation 12. Ego is a body influence. We must know how a four-dimensional idea is brought into a three-dimensional consciousness. The four dimensions of the angel's activities in Revelation 8 are brought into the three dimensions of consciousness of a single idea, as presented in the first part of this chapter, and these three are the awareness of the spirit, the idea, the purpose of any vibratory influence. The readings present this idea this way. Best definition that may ever be given of fourth dimension is an idea. In Revelation 8 the first four angels dealt with earth influences. Our earthly natures. Revelation 9 to 11. The three additional ones deal with the comprehension of the effect of these influences on the body and the essence of our being. The soul, and will fell from heaven. Will. Time as a measure of man's understanding of his use of free will. Use of will is a blessing. In the body there is the lower earthly awareness as hell, earth. The higher awareness as heaven. They are of the mental and spiritual influences in us.
And the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit.
The state of consciousness from heaven. The star signifies simply the coming of the influence from without to the influences from within, as is signified by his star have we seen. The ability to use free will as a key to understanding to become aware of our lower natures on earth. These vibratory forces arises from the lower portion, most uncomely from the depths of the bottomless pit, or from out the presence of God, has the spirit of man arisen to the glory of the star as in the sun, not sun, but sun, to those glories that become as the natures of the bodily forces, and every influence as comes through the earthly natures becomes lost in that beauty in the sun.
And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit as the smoke of a great furnace, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit.
In time we will become aware of the effects of creating for self. Understanding life's in the dimension of time. Vibratory forces arises from our ego, and temperaments are overshadowed. We must all remember who we are, a solar son of God, and not ego, and remove ourselves from this pit, earthly carnal living, as the prodigal son did.
And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power, as the scorpions of the earth have power.
A force, vibration, of earthliness of our lustful natures hurts the consciousness of the soul. Earth element is that planetary force of Saturn, the beginning of earthly woes.
And it was commanded them that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which have not the seal of God in their foreheads.
Vibrations that arise to consciousness from our lower portions, our man-made forms, that we have given life, and carry the seal of our desires, not the seal of God.
And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh a man.
This time period is given until we get full understanding of an idea by the 5 senses. The self must be eliminated from the forms of images created.
And in those days shall men seek death, and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them.
The degree of torment when our desires are the dominant lights in our temperaments. Our creative efforts are rejected and we respond by wanting to die.
And the shapes of the locusts were like unto horses prepared unto battle, and on their heads were as it were crowns like gold, and their faces were as the faces of men.
The vibrations from the forms of images we create are fighting for their survival. Gold is used to deceive. The forms created by us vibrate the spirit, the idea, and the purpose put there by us. They are our temperaments.
And they had hair as the hair of women, and their teeth were as the teeth of lions.
The forms of images accept what was put into them by their creator, us. They are supposed to be helpmeets to their maker. They have the ability to destroy flesh.
And they had breastplates, as it were breastplates of iron, and the sound of their wings was as the sound of chariots of many horses running to battle.
The strength of protection built into whatever we create as a temperament. Its life is our life. We protect it to the best of our abilities. Vibrations coming from the combined forces in the form, mixtures of desires and purposes.
And they had tails like unto scorpions, and there were stings in their tails, and their power was to hurt men 5 months.
Traits belonging to the selfish forms we create that cause self-harm. Such forms must eventually return to the self. In time our 5 senses will be hurt.
And they had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon.
In time we become aware of these vibrations. Apollo, Neptune, force acting at the Leyden gland level, and is of the mystic influence in man. Leyden's activity is combined with gonads as the wellspring of life to whatever is created by us. Our created forms do not vibrate on its own. Self does not create the vibration of the form. The combined force in the form, spirit, idea, purpose. Taking the life we give it vibrates at its own rate, its life rate, which in turn becomes ours. All the activities in Revelation 9 so far is under the 5th angel. Influence of the will and the thyroid center. The sense of time is an active consciousness associated with metes and bounds and sequential events. Our understanding of the self depends on the extent to which we comprehend our concepts of us. The measure of our awareness. Man is the measure of all things. Protagoras.
One woe is past, and behold, there come 2 woes more hereafter.
The first woe is related to time. We will see the concept of time again and again as we move on through Revelation, as the complexity and enormity of time becomes more clear. End of the first section of Revelation 9 verses 1 to 12, which is the fifth angel sounding. The section on Revelation 9 verses 13 to 21 is next and is the sixth angel sounding.